Video game-based movies, I probably shouldn't continue this sentence, should I? People know the stigma behind them, and that the bad video game movies outnumber the good ones. I don't think I need to repeat what many people have already said, and will continue to say plenty of times in the future. Today, however, we are gonna talk about a different kind of a video game based movie, as it's based on a video game which is based on a comic book franchise. The holy trinity of adaptations, one could say. Injustice is the latest in DC's animated movies lineup, and is based on the video game duology of the same name. To those of you who don't know the games, the story revolves around an alternate universe in which Superman lost control and basically became an evil tyrant. This happens due to the Joker exposing him to Scarecrow's fear toxin, making Clark think Lois Lane is Doomsday, causing him to drag her into space, and killing her alongside her unborn child. And if that's not enough, Joker uses the opportunity to blow Metropolis up and killing millions, which snaps Superman and causes him to snap Joker back for good. The Justice League all split due to this, causing them to fight each other. Some interdimensional mumbo-jumbo is going on, where a good Superman kicks the evil Superman's ass, and the day is saved until the sequel comes, but that's not relevant to our topic of the day. Injustice's story is interesting. Its execution is half-baked if you ask me, but I could appreciate the attempt, despite them not really committing to it and relying on alternate universes lol in order to not go too far with it. Despite this, I was looking forward to seeing how a film adaptation could work once one was announced earlier this year, especially since it was done by the animated DC team and not the live-action team. Sadly though, every winning streak has to be broken sometimes, and Injustice seems to truly be an unjustifiable mess of a movie. What's even sadder is that this, by all accounts, shouldn't have happened. They had a video game, with a plot presented much like a movie, and supporting long-running voice actors for these characters. And they basically just threw most of it away, keeping the bad and adding even more bad to it. I heard that this movie is apparently based more on the Injustice comic book, meant to promote the game, which I admit I haven't read. However, just because something happens in the comic doesn't make it a good plot point. And considering Injustice was made to be a game first, I had expected to follow the game and not the side stuff. Feel free to disagree with those claims, but this is where I come from when it comes to my opinions regarding this movie. With that said, I think I made it pretty clear that I didn't like this movie much. I personally thought that it failed not only as an adaptation, but as a movie in itself. It's not all bad, mind you, but my quick 2 cents about it are that it's not worth your time and money, and you're better off playing the game, considering it's a really fun game. So just do that. But let's dive a little deeper into this. The story begins with Clark and Lois waking up and discovering that they're about to have a child, which is of course cause for celebration. Shortly after, Joker and Harley kidnap Lois and do the entire fear toxic thing I mentioned before, resulting in Lois and the baby dying by Superman's hands and Metropolis going out in a bang. By the way, Flash is here, and he dies 7 minutes into the movie. Credit where it's due, I guess, that really was fast. Batman interrogates Joker about his motives for this plan, and Superman takes the Joker's life just like in the game. Less than 15 minutes in, and we already went through most of the backstory. The problem here is that this is all going by super quickly, with a little chance to actually stop and process everything. In those 15 minutes, we got Lois being pregnant, the Flash dying, Joker kidnapping Lois and tricking Superman into killing her, Metropolis going boom, and Superman killing the Joker. In the game we may not see all of this happen, as the game opens with a scene where Superman kills the Joker and Flash doesn't die, mind you, but it comes across as strangely stronger when you see the result of this tragic event happening, with only mentions of it, instead of rushing through the events leading up to this result. To the movie's credit, it tries giving more backstory to the events we're about to see, but without us having the time to process any of it, We are just left with a bunch of unclear events which come across as doing too much too quickly. We follow all of that with what I think is another good idea. Superman claims that he'll no longer fear killing criminals, while Batman thinks it's a terrible idea because of his moral code. These disagreements divide the Justice League. While in the game Superman starts a regime and will fight anyone who would disagree with him, here he seems more level-headed about his turn and is presented as more accepting of his colleagues' opposing opinion. This works in helping us see Superman as less of a joke than he was in the games. But he still starts a regime later on, kills a bunch of kids in a nightclub out of nothing but petty spite, and the climax revolves around him abandoning his supporters and the people who help them in order to make sure his opinion is the only one that matters. So we went from not as much of a jerk with understandable motives to an even bigger jerk than he was in the games. Fair trade, movie. A very fair trade indeed. Speaking of fair trades from the games, Damian Wayne kills Dick Grayson. Again, in the games, Damian kills Dick off-screen, and that's revealed to us by surprise as we believe Nightwing is indeed Dick like in the comics. Only for Batman to confirm it is in fact his biological son instead of his adopted one. That was another major death happening off-screen, and considering how they do it in this movie, it may have been for the better. I wouldn't have minded seeing the death of Dick Grayson happening on screen, but it's done in such a stupid and rushed way that doesn't do any of the characters justice. This annoys me even more considering we see Damian actually feel remorse and regret for doing it, acting very differently than the loudmouth egomaniac he usually is. We also see the tough and emotions-pressing Bruce Wayne break down and facing another loss. Both of those are great additions to the story. But they are held back by a lame death scene and an even lamer payoff. So Nightwing dies, then goes to heaven, meets this Ramakushana chick who turns him into Deathwing, and he then shows up as a convenient ghost to help people when they need him. Okay, I don't care if this happens in any comic book, this is the stupidest thing ever, and I have no idea how nobody stopped it from happening. And we're not even done yet. Another change from the game is the appearance of Ra's al Ghul, who helps Superman's side until he makes a robot which forces the Justice League to work together because Damian needed something to fight in the climax? I don't fucking know. Again, I don't care if it's different from the game. I care that it doesn't add anything to the story and takes away from what's supposed to be the point. Speaking of the point of the story, Superman turns against every member of the Justice League at the end, as I guess he became obsessed with killing and being a dictator. Diana is mad at him, which is a change I actually appreciate as she's not Superman's rebound girl like in the game, and actually stands up to him when she thinks he's going too far. But then alternate hero Superman shows up to fight his evil self. Of all the things they could have brought back from the game, this is what they went with. The cop-out. The cowardly way of we can't have Superman act actually evil even though it's an alternate continuity. The two Supermen fight. Band 1 is sad upon seeing an alternate Lois telling him off and regrets everything in an instant. A half-assed moral about second chances is thrown in. Thank you for your hour and 15 minutes. No refunds on the Blu-ray. That was honestly depressing. I didn't want to bash this movie. I was even waiting to recommend a friend who never heard of the game to watch this instead. But sometimes life doesn't give you what you want. The saddest part is that this movie doesn't work in any way. As an adaptation, it poorly represents the plot of the original, and introduces a new problem to counter each one that it tries to fix. As a standalone movie, it's a rushed and inconsistent mess that doesn't hold any water. I guess I can only hope that whenever they turn Injustice into a live-action movie, it will be done way better than this. But seriously, like, in the game, it's the Superman with the red underwear that's the bad guy, and the one without, that's the good guy. Well, here it's the other way around. They couldn't even get that part right! What the actual f-